I'm 25, just a regular girl working as a server at this upscale restaurant in the suburbs of Cleveland. The job's decent, pays the bills, but the hours suck. I'm talking closing shifts that drag on till midnight, sometimes later if the manager's in a mood. This one night, it was pushing 1 a.m. by the time I clocked out, and I was dead tired, just wanted to get home, shower, and crash. I live about 30 minutes from work, and the fastest route is this long, lonely stretch of State Route 43. It's not a highway you'd write home about. Just 2 lanes, no streetlights, with nothing but fields and the occasional farmhouse for miles. At night, it's pitch black, like the kind of dark where your headlights barely make a dent. I'm used to it, though. I'd driven that road 100 times, blasting my music to stay awake, not thinking twice about it. But that night, man, that night was different. It was a Thursday, I think middle of July, hot and sticky even at night. I'm in my beat-up Honda Civic, windows cracked because the AC's been acting up, and I'm singing along to some old Taylor Swift to keep my eyes open. I'm maybe 10 minutes into the drive, out in the middle of nowhere, when my headlights catch something up ahead. There's this woman standing right in the middle of the road, waving her arms like she's trying to flag me down. She's wearing this white dress, like a sundress or something, which stood out because who the hell wears white out here at 1 a.m.? I slowed down, heart picking up a bit. I mean, it's late, and this road's empty, so my first thought is she's in trouble, right? Like, car broke down, or maybe she's hurt. I'm not heartless, so I pull over to the shoulder, keeping my high beams on her. She's maybe 30 feet away, still waving, but now she's walking toward me slow, like she's got all the time in the world. I lean out my window a little and call out, "Hey, you okay? Need help?" She doesn't answer, just keeps coming closer, and that's when I get a better look at her. She's got this pale face, long dark hair, and her dress is kinda dirty, like she's been rolling in the grass or something. But it's her smile that stops me cold. It's not a normal smile, you know. It's too wide, too stiff, like she's forcing it, and her eyes are just empty. I'm getting bad vibes, but I'm thinking, maybe she's drunk or high or something. I try again. "You need a ride somewhere?" Still no answer, just that creepy-ass smile. And she's close enough now that I can see her hands are clenched into fists. Then I hear it. Footsteps. Not from her, but from behind my car, crunching on the gravel shoulder. Slow, heavy steps, like someone's trying not to make too much noise. My stomach drops. I whip my head around, but it's too dark to see anything past my taillights. I look back at the woman, and she stopped maybe 10 feet from my car, still smiling, but now she's tilting her head, like she's waiting for something. My hands are shaking as I grip the steering wheel, and every instinct in my body is screaming, "Get out of here." I don't even think. I slam my foot in the gas, tires screeching as I peel back onto the road. My heart's pounding so hard I can barely breathe, and I'm cursing myself for stopping in the first place. I glance in my rearview mirror, and that's when I see it, her standing in the middle of the road, but now there's 2 guys with her. 2 big dudes, one in a dark jacket, the other in a flannel, both just staring at my car as I speed away. Their faces are lit up by my tail lights, and I swear their eyes were locked on me, not blinking, like they were pissed I got away. It wasn't just a random encounter. That was a setup, and I fell for it like an idiot. I'm driving way too fast now, like 80 in a 45, checking my mirrors every second, expecting to see headlights following me. My phone's in the passenger seat, but I'm too freaked to grab it and call anyone. All I can think is, what if they know where I live? I mean, I don't know how, but what if they got my license plate? What if they're following me right now, just out of sight? I keep driving, taking random turns off the main road, looping through side streets just to make sure no one's behind me. When I finally get home, it's like 2 a.m. I park in my apartment complex lot, but I sit in my car for a good 10 minutes, doors locked, scanning every shadow. I'm shaking so bad I can barely hold my keys as I sprint from my car to my door. Once I'm inside, I deadbolt the door, check every window, and grab a butcher knife from the kitchen. I call my coworker Jake, who's still up because he's a night owl, and spill the whole story. He's like, "Yo, that sounds like a robbery setup. You gotta call the cops." I didn't want to at first, felt like I didn't have enough to go on, but he kept pushing, so I did. The police were nice enough, but useless. I gave them a description of the woman, mid-30s, white dress, creepy smile, and the two guys, but it's not like I got a good look at their faces. I told them where it happened, and they said they'd patrol the area, but I could tell they weren't taking it too seriously. They asked if I wanted to file a report, and I said yeah, but what's that going to do? They didn't even ask for my dashcam footage, which I didn't have anyway, because my car's too old for that. I don't drive alone at night anymore if I can help it. And if I see someone waving for a ride, hell no, I'm not stopping. That night taught me one thing. Some people out there aren't just looking for help, they're looking for a victim. And I'm not about to be one. I'm 35, a mom of two, a 7-year-old boy, Ethan, and a 5-year-old girl, Lily. We live in this quiet little suburb outside Raleigh, North Carolina. It was a Tuesday, early October, around 4 p.m. I just picked Ethan up from school. Lily stays with my mom after kindergarten till I'm off work, so it was just me and him. I'm a dental hygienist, so my days are long, and by the time I'm driving home, I'm usually running on fumes, just thinking about dinner and getting the kids to bed. Ethan's in the back seat, chattering about some science project, and I'm half listening, pulling into our driveway like any other day. I hit the garage door opener, and it creaks up, same as always. Nothing weird, nothing off until I hear it. This sound, like a shuffle, coming from the back corner of the garage. Not loud, but enough to make me pause. It's that kind of noise you don't expect, like when you know the house is empty, but hear a chair scrape. I glance at Ethan, who's still talking, oblivious, and I shush him real quick. "Hang on, buddy," I say, straining to listen. There it is again, rustle, like someone's moving something heavy, maybe a trash bag or a box, in the dark corner where we keep old Christmas decorations and junk we've been meaning to donate. I tell Ethan to stay in the car and lock the doors. He's confused, but he listens, thank God. I step out, leaving the car running, and hit the light switch for the garage. The fluorescent bulbs flicker on, and I'm squinting, trying to see what's what. That's when I notice them, muddy footprints, fresh ones, smeared across the concrete floor. They start near the side door, which we never use, and trail toward that dark corner. My heart's doing that thing where it feels like it's going to climb out of my chest, but I'm thinking, maybe it's just a raccoon or something, right? We've had squirrels get in before. I grab a broom from the wall. Dumb, I know, but it's the closest thing to a weapon, and take a few steps forward, following the footprints. They're big, like men's boots, not animal tracks, and my stomach's twisting now. I call out, "Hello? Anyone there?" No answer, but I hear another sound, like a quick breath or shift, from behind this old plastic storage bin stacked with Halloween costumes. I'm shaking, but I'm a mom, you know? You don't just run when your kid's 20 feet away in the car. I lean forward, broom raised like I'm some action hero, and peek around a bin. That's when I see him. This guy crouched low, tucked behind the bin like he's trying to melt into the shadows. He's got on a dark jacket, jeans, and his face is half hidden under a baseball cap, but I can see his eyes wide, locked on me. In his hand, he's holding this coil of rope, like the thick kind you'd use to tie down a tarp, and he's gripping it tight, like he's ready to use it. I freeze for a split second, just staring, and he doesn't move either, like we're both waiting for the other to make a move. Then I scream. I mean scream, loud enough to wake the whole damn neighborhood. I stumble back, drop the broom, and sprint for the car, yelling for Ethan to stay put. I slam the garage door button to close it, but it's so slow, creaking down like it's mocking me. I jump in the driver's seat, lock the doors, and fumble for my phone, dialing 911 with hands that won't stop shaking. Ethan's crying now, asking what's wrong, and I'm trying to keep it together, telling him it's okay, just stay calm, while I'm telling the operator there's a man in my garage with a rope. I'm watching the garage door, expecting this guy to come charging out, but it's quiet. Too quiet. The operator's asking me to stay on the line, says cops are 5 minutes out, but it feels like forever. I keep glancing at the side door in the garage, thinking he might slip out that way, but I don't see anything. Ethan's still crying, and I'm trying to shush him while keeping my eyes on every shadow. I'm thinking, what if he's still in there? What if he's got a key or something? How the hell did he even get in? When the cops finally show up, 2 cars with lights flashing, I'm a mess. I tell them everything, the noise, the footprints, the guy with the rope. They go in, guns drawn, and I'm just sitting in the car, holding Ethan, praying they find him before he gets away. After what feels like an hour, one of the officers comes back out, says the garage is empty. No guy, no rope, nothing. But they found something else, a black backpack shoved behind some old paint cans. They pull it out, and it's got all the sketchy stuff inside. A crowbar, gloves, a flashlight, duct tape, a couple of those zip tie things. Burglary tools, the cop says, no question. They check the side door, and the lock's been jimmied, like someone pried it open with a screwdriver. There's more muddy prints leading out that door into the backyard, but they stop at the grass, like the guy just vanished. The cops take the backpack, dust for prints, and tell me they'll file a report, but I can tell they don't think they'll catch him. They say he was probably scoping houses, looking for an easy hit, and I interrupted him. Lucky you screamed. One of them says, like that's supposed to make me feel better. I didn't sleep that night. I took the kids to my mom's house, and we stayed there for a couple days while my husband, who was out of town for work, rushed home. We got a new lock on the side door, installed a security system with cameras, the whole deal. But I couldn't shake the image of that guy, those eyes, that rope. What was he gonna do with it? Rob me? Tie me up? Worse? I kept thinking about Ethan and Lily, how close they were to whatever he was planning. Okay, so me and my boyfriend Jake, we're both 27, and we're kind of obsessed with road trips. Like, we've been together 3 years, and every summer we take his old Yamaha motorcycle and just hit the road. No real plan, just vibes. Last August, we decided to ride through the Blue Ridge Mountains in Virginia. It was a Saturday, getting dark, maybe 7 p.m., and we're cruising along this mountain road, Route 16, I think. It's one of those narrow, winding roads with no shoulder, just trees and drop-offs on one side, cliffs on the other. The sun's dipping low, turning everything orange, and it's getting chilly, so I'm tucked in tight behind Jake, my arms wrapped around him, helmet fogging up a bit from my breath. We're not going fast, maybe 40 miles an hour, just enjoying the ride when I notice headlights in Jake's side mirror. Big ones, high off the ground, like a truck. At first, I don't think much of it. People pass through these roads all the time, right? But this truck, it's old and beat up, with this rusty grill that looks like it's been through a war. It's right on our tail, way too close for comfort, like 10 feet back. Jake glances in the mirror and mutters, "What's this guy's deal?" He speeds up a little, trying to give us some space, but the truck matches us, engine growling loud enough to hear over the bike. I'm getting nervous now, gripping Jake's jacket tighter, my heart's starting to race. Then it gets worse. The truck swerves closer, like deliberately close, its left side crossing the center line so it's almost beside us. Jake has to lean hard to keep us from skidding off the road into the ditch. I scream into my helmet, "What the hell?" And Jake's yelling back, "Hold on." He guns it, pushing the bike to like 60, weaving through a curve, but the truck stays glued to us. It's so close, I can smell the diesel fumes, and I swear I hear the driver rev the engine like he's taunting us. We hit a straight stretch, and Jake slows down, thinking maybe the guy'll pass. But he doesn't. He just sits there, tailgating us, headlights blinding in the mirrors. I twist around to look, and I can't see the driver's face, too dark, and the cab's too high up. But I get this awful feeling, like whoever's in there is watching us, not just driving. Jake's cursing under his breath, trying to stay calm, but I can feel his body tensing up. I'm freaking out, thinking, is this guy drunk? Road rage? Or something worse? We see a pull-off up ahead, just a gravel patch by a scenic overlook, and Jake signals to pull over. I'm like, "Are you sure?" But he's like, "We gotta get off this road." We pull in, kickstand down, and I'm shaking as I rip off my helmet. The truck slows down but doesn't stop. It crawls past us, then pulls over maybe 100 meters up the road, just sitting there, engine idling. Its taillights glow red in the dusk, and it's not moving. I whisper to Jake, "This ain't right." He's just waiting. Jake's staring at the truck, his jaw tight, and says, "Yeah, I don't like this." We're both thinking the same thing. We need to get out of here. There's no cell signal out here. Middle of nowhere, mountains blocking everything, so calling for help's not an option. Jake remembers a small side road we passed a mile back, one that supposedly leads to a little village down the mountain. He's like, "We're gonna take that. If he follows, we'll know he's after us." I nod, my mouth dry, and we hop back on the bike, helmets on, hearts pounding. Jake takes off slower this time, keeping an eye on the mirrors. The truck doesn't move right away, which is a relief, but I'm still checking over my shoulder every 5 seconds. We find the side road. It's narrow, barely paved, with a faded sign pointing to Creekside Village, 5 miles. Jake turns onto it, and I'm praying the truck doesn't follow. We're winding through these tight wooded curves, branches brushing the bike, and I keep looking back, expecting those headlights to pop up. They don't. After a few minutes, I start to breathe again, thinking maybe we lost him. We make it to the village, just a cluster of houses, a gas station, and a diner that's still open. We pull into the diner's lot, and I'm practically falling off the bike. My legs are so shaky. Inside, it's warm, smells like coffee and burgers, and there's maybe 3 other people, a waitress, a cook, and some old guy nursing a milkshake. We sit at the counter, still in our jackets, and tell the waitress we just need a minute. She's sweet, brings us water, and we're trying to act normal, but I can't tell Jake's as rattled as I am. There's an old radio playing in the corner, tuned to some local station with a crackly voice giving news updates. We're sipping our water, trying to calm down, when the announcer says something that makes my blood run cold. Breaking news: police are investigating a robbery on Route 16 earlier this evening. A motorist was forced off the road by a suspect in an older model pickup truck. The victim was unharmed, but the suspect fled with their belongings. Authorities are asking anyone with information to come forward. Jake and I just stare at each other, eyes wide. I'm like, no way. That's our road. The waitress overhears and asks what's wrong, so we spill the whole story, the truck, the tailgating, how it nearly ran us off. She looks spooked and says, "You're lucky you got off that road. That stretch has been bad lately." People saying some guy's been targeting travelers, especially at night. My stomach twists, and I'm thinking that was him. The guy in the truck wasn't just some jerk, he was out there hunting. We wait in the diner till it closes at 10, too scared to ride back out right away. The cook lets us use their landline to call a friend in Roanoke, who drives out to meet us and follow us home. The whole ride back, I'm checking every shadow, every set of headlights, thinking that truck's gonna come roaring out of nowhere. We make it home okay, but I don't sleep that night. Neither does Jake. We keep talking about it, how close we came to being that news story, or worse. My mom's been dealing with some health issues, heart stuff, nothing crazy, but enough that we're in and out of the hospital for checkups. This happened last winter. Mom had an appointment with her cardiologist at this community hospital about 20 minutes from our house. The appointment ran late, paperwork mix-ups, then the doc wanted extra tests, so by the time we're done, it's pushing 9 p.m. The hospital's not in a bad area, but it's not exactly downtown either. The parking lot's this big, dimly lit sprawl, with those flickering sodium lights that make everything look yellow and creepy. I'm parked in the back, near a chain-link fence, because the closer spots were taken when we got there. Mom's tired, moving slow, so I help her into the passenger seat of my old Subaru, make sure she's buckled in, and shut the door. I'm about to walk around to the driver's side when I notice this guy coming toward us from across the lot. He's maybe 50 feet away, walking fast, wearing a white coat like a doctor. I figure he's just some hospital worker heading to his car. No big deal. But something about him catches my eye. He's not carrying a bag or anything, just hand in his pockets, head down, moving straight for us. I get in the car, lock the doors out of habit, and start the engine to warm it up. Mom's fiddling with her purse, complaining about the wait time, when there's a tap on my window. I jump a little, because I didn't see him get that close. It's the guy in a white coat standing right there, looking in at me. He's middle-aged, clean-shaven, with these wire-rimmed glasses, but his eyes, man, they're off. Like too wide, too intense, like he's staring through me. He's smiling, but it's not friendly. It's tight, like he's forcing it. "Hey," he says, his voice muffled through the glass. "I'm Dr. Harris. I need you to open the door real quick. I gotta check on your mom's condition." I'm confused as hell, because we just left the clinic, and her doctor's a woman, Dr. Patel, not some dude. I glance at Mom, and she's looking at him, frowning, like she's not buying it either. I cracked the window just an inch, enough to talk but not enough for him to stick a hand in and say, "Oh, we just saw her doctor. She's fine." What's this about? His smile doesn't budge, but his eyes get even weirder, like he's annoyed I'm questioning him. "It's just a quick check," he says, leaning closer to the window. Part of the follow-up. "Open the door, it'll take 2 seconds." His voice is calm, but there's this edge to it like he's trying too hard to sound professional. I notice his coat's kinda dirty, like it's been worn too long, and there's no hospital badge, no name tag, nothing. My gut's screaming that something's wrong. "Nah, man," I say, trying to keep it cool. "We're good. We just left the office. You can call Dr. Patel if you need something." Mom's gripping my arm now, whispering, "Let's go, Danny." The guy's still smiling, but it's starting to look more like a grimace. He steps closer, so close his coat's brushing the car, and says, "You don't understand. I need to check her. Open the door." Now, that last word comes out sharp, almost a growl, and I see his hand move out of his pocket, gripping the door handle. I'm done. "Get the hell away from my car," I snap, rolling the window up tight. He doesn't move, just stares at me, those creepy eyes boring into mine. Then, out of nowhere, he yanks the handle hard, like he's trying to rip the door off. The car shakes, and Mom screams, "Danny to drive." I'm freaking out, but thank God the doors are locked. He yanks again, harder, and I'm thinking this dude's gonna break the window or something. I slam my hand on the horn, holding it down, and the sound blares through the lot, loud enough to wake the dead. The guy freezes, his hand still on the handle, then bolts, running toward the fence like a scared animal. I see him duck through a gap in the chain link and disappear into the dark. I'm shaking so bad I can barely shift into drive, but I peel out of the lot, checking my mirrors to make sure he's not following. Mom's crying, saying, "Who was that? What did he want?" And I'm just like, "I don't know, Mom, but we're okay." I call 911 as I'm driving, tell them what happened. They send a cop to the hospital lot, and we meet them there after circling back. Didn't want to go home yet in case he got our plates. The cop's nice, takes our statement, but says there's not much to go on. No cameras caught the guy, and Dr. Harris doesn't match any staff at the hospital. They patrol the lot, find nothing, but tell us to file a report and keep our doors locked. Like, no shit, right? We get home, and I'm a wreck. I check every window, every door, even the garage, thinking maybe he followed us. Mom's shaken too. Keeps saying she should have known he wasn't a doctor. I call my sister, tell her everything, and she's like, "That sounds like a scam, or worse. You need a dash cam." I looked up stuff online later, and there's been reports of creeps posing as hospital staff in other cities, trying to get into cars or lure people out. Some think it's for robbery, others say kidnapping. Either way, it's bad. When I was about 9, I live in a tiny rural village in the UK, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone. With only around 200 people, most folks were either family or close friends, and even the ones you didn't know personally, you'd see often enough to recognize. It was October, and I just learned how to ride a bike properly, so after primary school, I'd spend hours pedaling around, feeling free as the days started getting shorter. Around this time, a letter was going around to all the parents at my school. Only about 50 kids went there, so it was a tight-knit group. The letter warned about a black Mercedes driving around, with some guy offering to give kids rides home. Naturally, this freaked everyone out. Parents in our village always looked out for each other's kids, so the news put everyone on high alert. One evening, around 6 p.m., I just finished dinner and decided to go on one of my little bike adventures. I rode down the road toward the local shop, which was only about 50 feet from my house. As I got close, I saw this black car pull up near the shop, right next to me. It parked there for a few seconds, and my heart started racing. I bolted into the shop to stay out of sight. The guy in the car looked like he was in his mid-30s, shaved head, wearing a ripped Adidas tracksuit. That's all I could make out before I ducked inside. Inside the shop, I grabbed a chocolate bar, trying to act normal. Then this guy walks in, comes right up next to me, and picks up the same chocolate bar. My stomach dropped. I headed to the counter to pay, and before I could say anything, he stepped up and told the shop owner he was paying for me. He slapped 150 pounds on the counter, which was way more than a chocolate bar cost. I froze, not knowing what to do. Luckily, the shop owner knew my mom and dad well. She must have sensed something was off because she asked me loud and clear if I was going upstairs to play Xbox with her son. Now, she didn't have a son, but I caught on quick. Yeah, I said, playing along, and turned left toward the door that led to her house behind the shop. I walked through, but instead of going upstairs, I peeked through the small window by the door. The guy lingered in the shop, looking around. I could barely make out what he was saying, but the shop owner kept telling him it was closing time and he needed to leave. He said something about waiting for his son, which made no sense. The shop owner didn't back down, saying she dropped me off herself. That's when he got a bit aggressive, his voice sharp, but he finally stormed out. I stayed put, watching through the window until I was sure he was gone. About 20 minutes later, I hopped on my bike and pedaled home as fast as I could. When I got there, I rushed inside and spilled everything to my mom, my heart still pounding. Years later, when I brought it up again, I tried searching online for any reports about the guy or the black Mercedes, but living in such a rural place, there wasn't much to find. I don't know if he was ever caught or if he just moved on to the next village. All I know is I got home safe that night, and I was a lot more careful biking around after that. When I was around 12 or 13, we used to have these big family gatherings at my grandma's house pretty often. It was one of those summers where the days felt endless, and this time my brother, my two cousins, both boys, and I, the only girl, were messing around in a couple of inflatable pools in the backyard. We were splashing, laughing, just having a blast under the sun. The neighbor kid, probably around my brother's age, like 15 or 16, climbed up on his fence to chat with us. He seemed cool, joking around, making us laugh, so we asked if he wanted to join in. My grandma gave the okay, and he hopped over to join the fun. Everything was great for a while. Lots of splashing, silly banter, the usual kid stuff. But then my brother and cousins got called inside to help with something, leaving me alone with this guy in the pool. I got nervous right away. I've always been a bit socially anxious, especially around guys, so my stomach started knotting up. I tried to brush it off, telling myself it was no big deal, just keep having fun. But then this kid, who'd been all friendly before, turned into a total jerk. Out of nowhere, he started hurling insults at me, grinning like it was some big joke. I figured he was just messing around, so I tossed a few playful jabs back, trying to keep things light. But he didn't stop. He started splashing me like crazy, way harder than before. So much that I was swallowing water, coughing, and struggling to keep my head up. I was still kind of laughing, thinking maybe he'd chill out, but I turned my head away and told him to slow down. When he didn't, I got serious and snapped, "Knock it off." He finally stopped, and I was wiping water from my eyes, trying to catch my breath. But then, out of nowhere, he grabbed a bucket, filled it with water, and dumped it right over my head. I reached up to yank it off, but before I could, he shoved me down hard into the pool. I stumbled, barely getting the bucket off, and shouted, "What the hell is wrong with you?" He didn't answer, just grabbed me and forced my head under the water. I was thrashing, flailing, trying to claw at his face or hit him, anything to get him off, but the way he was holding me made it impossible to reach him. I was choking, gasping, and starting to feel lightheaded, like I was about to pass out. Just when I thought I couldn't hold on any longer, someone yanked him off me. I shot up, gasping for air, my chest heaving. My brother was there, pulling me behind him, glaring at the kid. "What the hell are you doing?" he demanded. The kid just snickered, acting like it was nothing, and said, "I was just playing." My brother stepped closer, towering over him. "How is trying to drown or playing?" he shot back. The kid kept smirking, not taking it seriously, and my brother told him flat out to stay away from us. The guy scoffed, muttered something about us being boring anyway, and got escorted out by my brother and cousins. For some reason, we never told the adults what happened. I still don't know why we kept it to ourselves. Maybe we were just kids, scared or embarrassed. But that kid didn't stop. He taunted us from his backyard, yelling insults, even bringing a friend over to mock us too. It got so bad we finally told his family, and they shut it down quick. He tried to call us liars, but no one bought it. Not long after, his family moved away, and we never had to deal with him again. I'm so grateful for my brother. He practically raised me, always looking out for me in ways I can't even count. Honestly, I don't know where I'd be without him. But one thing's for sure, if he hadn't stepped in that day, I might not be here at all. When I was 18, in my final year of high school, I lived in this super boring residential part of town. It was a fancy neighborhood, sure, but for teenagers looking for something to do, it was a total snooze. My friends and I would usually hit up a store to buy cheap booze and wander the streets, getting wasted. Not my proudest moments, I'll admit. Sometimes, if we had the energy, we'd head to this park that was kind of our go-to spot for privacy. The park had 3 layers, a lake in the center, a big open field around it, and woods wrapping the whole thing. We'd sneak into the trees to drink and mess around, far enough from school grounds that we didn't have to worry about getting caught by teachers or park staff. We always went in a group of at least 5, so random passers-by weren't a big deal. This story, though, isn't about some dumb drunken regret, even though I've got plenty of those. It's about the time I went to the park with my first girlfriend, Jen. Being around her was already awkward as hell. I mean, just existing in the same space felt like a challenge, let alone trying to make out. Doing that at school was a nightmare. Anyone could catch you in the act. So when I suggested a date at the park, it felt like the perfect solution. We got there and started looking for a secluded spot to, get cozy. After a bit of wandering, we found a good place, tucked away in the trees, and things are going pretty well. We'd stop every now and then when we heard people passing by, just to be safe. But then, during one of those pauses, I heard footsteps nearby. We stopped kissing, and I figured whoever it was would just keep walking. But when the footsteps faded, I opened my eyes. Yeah, I'm one of those people who looks around while making out, and there was this guy about 15 meters away, just staring at us. He looked like he was in his mid-40s, bald, wearing totally normal clothes, like some average dude you'd pass on the street. I couldn't quite make out his face, but I stopped kissing Jen and stared back, hoping he'd get the hint and leave. Instead, he waved at us and started walking over. My heart started pounding, and Jen looked as nervous as I felt. When he got closer, he started talking, all casual, like, "Hey, you two having a good time? I used to come here with cuties back in the day." Then he started asking weird questions, like where we lived and where we went to school. I lied and said we were from the neighborhood, but stupidly told the truth about our school. He kept going, saying stuff like, "Sorry to interrupt your fun, but just so you know, Park Patrol comes through here this time of day. If they catch you, they'll probably call your school." It sounded fishy, but then he added, "I know a quiet spot nearby. Use it myself back in the day. Come on, I'll show you." He started walking, motioning for us to follow. Now, I know some people would have told him to buzz off right then and there, but it all happened so fast, and we were caught off guard. Jen and I just followed him, not really processing what was going on. Halfway through the walk, though, it hit us that this was a bad idea. We were silently freaking out, but we kept going until we reached this isolated playground with a giant concrete pipe, like a tunnel kids would play in. The guy started rambling about his glory days or whatever, then finally left. For a second, I thought maybe he was just a weird dude with good intentions since he actually walked away. But I wasn't about to take chances. I told Jen we had to get out of there, and she nodded, clearly uncomfortable. She's super introverted and quiet, so I could tell she was shaken. Before we left, though, I had this gut feeling the guy might still be lurking. So we hid in a bush nearby and waited. Sure enough, almost right away, the creep came back, sneaking toward the playground. We were like something out of a movie, covering our mouths, watching through the leaves. He got closer to the pipe, peeking inside like he was looking for us. My heart was in my throat, thinking he'd seen us, but he didn't. When he found the pipe empty, he just left. That's when it all clicked. He'd lured us to that isolated spot for a reason, probably to catch us off guard or worse. I don't know what he would have done if we'd stayed, and I wasn't sticking around to find out. Jen and I started fast walking out of there, but then the guy appeared out of nowhere in front of us, asking why we were leaving. I didn't even let him finish his sentence. "We gotta go," I said, grabbing Jen's hand, and we bolted. We ran until we were far enough away to feel safe. It was such a creepy, weird experience. I went back to the park a few times after that for other reasons, but I never saw that guy again. I also never saw the park patrol he warned us about, so I'm pretty sure he made it up to lure us. Looking back, I learned my lesson, hormones or not, I'm keeping that kind of stuff at home from now on. I was about 13 at the time, and my little sister was 11. We lived in a quiet, nice neighborhood where the worst thing you'd hear about was some teenager smoking weed now and then. Nothing big ever happened around there. That day, we were out riding our bikes, cruising around the neighborhood for maybe 20 or 30 minutes, just enjoying the breeze. We decided to turn around and head home, probably about 5 minutes away, when my sister's tire hit a rock. She went flying off her bike, hitting the ground hard. She started sobbing, holding up her hand, and I could see her right index finger was a mess. Her entire nail was practically torn off, blood and all. It looked insanely painful, and we both knew we needed to get home fast so Mom could clean it up. We started walking our bikes the rest of the way. My sister still crying, her hand clutched close. We'd only gone about 30 seconds when this lawn care company van pulled up next to the path we were on. A guy hopped out of the passenger seat, Latino, with a handlebar mustache, looking concerned. He must have seen my sister in distress because he came over and asked if we needed a ride home. The stranger danger alarms in my head started blaring, and I quickly said, "No thanks, we live right over there," pointing vaguely toward our house. I just wanted him to back off, but he wouldn't let it go. He kept insisting, saying he could at least walk us home. I stood my ground, telling him we were fine, but he was so pushy, going on about how he just wanted to help. Then he started asking if our parents were home, which creeped me out even more. I kept saying, "Yeah, they're home," but he pressed like, "Are you sure? How long's it been since you were there?" Maybe they left. I stuck to my story, knowing Mom and Dad were actually home, and figured if he followed us, Dad would show up and handle it. We kept walking, now on the street leading right to our house, my sister still whimpering beside me. The guy was walking with us, and what freaked me out most was that the van was still creeping along slowly behind us, the driver keeping pace. The guy walking with us kept touching my sister's shoulder, giving us this weird, creepy grin the whole time. I was getting more and more anxious, my stomach twisting. I told him one more time that we were fine, practically begging him to leave us alone. It was all too much, the stress, the fear, the way he wouldn't back off. I just burst into tears, my voice shaking as I said, "Please, just go. We're almost home. Thanks for trying to help, but we're okay." I was trying to be polite, hoping he'd finally get the hint. His face twisted into this weird grimace, like he was annoyed or something, and he finally turned back to the van. As he climbed in, both he and the driver started laughing hysterically, like the whole thing was some big joke to them. The van sped off, and I stood there, heart pounding, watching it disappear. We made it home, and I didn't tell Mom what happened. I don't know why, maybe I was just shaken up or didn't want to worry her. Looking back, I'm sure she'd be proud of me for standing my ground. She'd always drilled it into us to never talk to strangers, and that day her warnings probably saved us from something bad. My sister's finger got cleaned up, and we were okay, but I'll never forget how creepy that guy was or how relieved I felt when they finally drove away. About 3 years ago, when I was 17, I went on a holiday with my boyfriend and his stepsister. It was a blast, long hot days on the beach, exploring nearby cities, swimming in the ocean. His stepsister, who was a year younger than us, tagged along most of the time. She loved getting drunk, which got a bit annoying since she was always following us around, but we let her hang out anyway. One night, she suggested we go find a club. I pointed out that neither she nor I was old enough to get in, only my boyfriend could, but we were already pretty tipsy, so we decided to walk to the other side of the island to check it out. I was stumbling, even fell a few times on the way, my legs wobbly from the booze. When we finally got to the club around 2 a.m., it was closing down, and people were pouring out. Disappointed, we spotted a McDonald's nearby and figured we'd refuel there. I went inside to order, while my boyfriend and his stepsister stayed outside. I stepped out for a quick cigarette, and as I was smoking, a black car pulled into the taxi rank on the road. Feeling sore from falling earlier and way too drunk to walk back, I thought, why not grab a taxi? I asked the driver how much to get to our hotel, and he said 10 euros. Problem was, I only had 5. I told him that and asked if he'd take us for 5 since we were from the UK and didn't know the area well. He smiled and said, for you, 5 euros. Just then, my boyfriend and his stepsister came out of McDonald's with the food and saw me talking to the guy. I told them he was a taxi driver and would take us back for cheap. The driver looked surprised, saying he didn't know I was with friends, but waved us in, saying, come on, hop in. We started piling into the car, me and the stepsister in the back, my boyfriend up front. But then the stepsister asked to switch and take the front seat. I wanted to sit up front anyway, and being super drunk, forgive my dumb decisions here, I agreed despite my boyfriend's protests and slid into the front seat. At first, the ride was fine. We were all chatting, laughing, the radio playing some catchy tune. The cool air from the open window felt amazing on my hot, drunken face as I stared out at the ocean views. The driver, who was probably about 50, was chatty, asking us about the UK, making small talk, joining in our laughter. It felt friendly enough. But then he took my hand while keeping his right hand on the wheel. I didn't think much of it at first. Maybe he was just being overly friendly, right? He'd let go, then grab my hand again every now and then during the conversation. I started feeling uneasy, even through the drunken haze, but I brushed it off. Things got weirder when he placed my hand on his thigh, holding it tight. I scooted over in my seat, trying to pull away, but he kept my hand there. I glanced back at the stepsister, and she mouthed, "Are you okay?" I nodded slightly because he'd let go for a moment, and we kept talking like nothing was wrong. She whispered something to my boyfriend, and they went quiet for a bit. I could see our hotel getting closer, and I was just praying we'd get there soon. But then the driver grabbed my hand again, this time placing it on my own thigh, his hand gripping mine tightly. I was wearing a short, tight vest dress, and I immediately clamped my legs together, feeling vulnerable and trapped. I went silent, frozen, my heart racing. My boyfriend noticed and leaned forward, his voice sharp. "Hey, mate, take your hands off her." The driver laughed it off, saying, "I'm just being friendly," but he kept his hand on my thigh, holding it firm. My boyfriend and his stepsister started yelling, "Stop it. Pull over." He just said, "We're close to the hotel now," and kept driving. My stomach churned, the alcohol making me feel sick, and I was stiff as a board, terrified of what might happen if I relaxed even a little. Then it got worse. He moved my hand higher up my thigh, his fingers brushing where they absolutely shouldn't. I stared out the window, begging for the car to stop, my whole body tense. Finally, the car pulled up to the hotel. I jumped out, my legs shaky, and my boyfriend and his stepsister rushed over to me. I blurted out, "He touched me." My boyfriend sprinted to the driver's side, screaming at the guy. But the driver peeled out, speeding off. As he did, my boyfriend kicked the car, denting the license plate. We stumbled back into the hotel, and I ended up drinking even more to calm my nerves. The next morning, we were set to go on a boat trip, and my boyfriend's family kept asking if I was okay after hearing what happened. I said I was fine because, honestly, it was over, and it could have been so much worse. I just hoped I'd never see that guy again. As we left the hotel lobby, I noticed a white taxi with a yellow sign parked in the taxi rank. My stomach dropped. I walked over to one of the drivers and asked if all taxis around here were white with a yellow sign. He said yes. It hit me like a ton of bricks. The guy from last night wasn't even a real taxi driver. This 50-year-old creep saw me alone, pretended to be a cabbie, and got me into his car. I felt sick all over again, realizing how close we'd come to something really bad. When I was 16, I used to bike around Riverside, this forest preserve in my area, whenever I needed to clear my head. It was my go-to spot for shaking off stress or anxiety, just pedaling through the trees, music blasting in my headphones. One day, I was out there, sweaty and probably looking a bit rough myself in a black hoodie, when I passed this rugged-looking guy in the middle of the woods. I didn't think much of it at the time. I was focused on my ride, and he just seemed like some random dude. He was big, tall, and wide, with shoulder-length brown hair, wearing ripped black sweatpants, muddy white shoes, and a black hoodie with the hood down. I couldn't really see his face as I sped by, but he was dressed kinda like me, so I figured he was just out there exercising or something. As I got closer, he raised his hand and waved at me, all excited, then started jogging. I thought maybe seeing me reminded him to pick up his pace or whatever. But as I passed, he got so close that I nearly crashed into him. I had to swerve right to avoid him, barely missing him. I heard him shout something as I rode by, but with my headphones in, I couldn't make it out. I shook it off and kept going, heading back to my minivan in the parking lot. It took me a few minutes to get there, and by the time I did, I was wiped out. As I loaded my bike into the back, I glanced around to see if the guy was nearby. He wasn't, but I noticed this dirty, white van parked across the lot, the kind you'd see in a creepy movie, with tinted windows so you couldn't see inside. It looked beat up, like it hadn't been washed in ages. I got a weird vibe, but I brushed it off, made sure the van didn't follow me, and drove home. About 3 weeks later, I was home alone, chilling in my room upstairs around 4 p.m., watching YouTube on my phone with my dog curled up next to me. My dad was still at work, and it was just a normal, lazy afternoon. Then the doorbell rang, followed by 2 loud bangs on the door. Usually, when someone pounded like that, it was my mom. She loved freaking out the dog by banging on the door when she got home. My dog went nuts, bolting downstairs, barking his head off. I followed, but I wasn't in a rush, just strolling down, expecting to see Mom. When I swung the door open, it wasn't her. It was the guy from Riverside, standing there with a big black garbage bag in his hand. He was wearing almost the same outfit as before, ripped sweatpants, black hoodie, but his shoes were clean this time. I looked up at his face and saw a full trimmed beard covering most of it, and these piercing blue eyes staring right at me. Before I could say anything, he spoke, his voice deep and unsettling. "Hi there, young man. Is Melanie around? I'd love to see her." My heart sank. I knew Melanie. She lived a few houses down, but I wasn't about to tell him that. "No, I don't know who that is, sorry," I said, forcing a small smile to hide how freaked out I was. My minivan was parked right out front, like always, and it hit me he must have recognized it from Riverside and tracked me here. As if he could read my mind, he said, "I think I know you from somewhere, pal." His voice sent chills down my spine, and I just stood there, frozen, shrugging my shoulders like I had no clue what he was talking about. Then he started shaking the garbage bag up and down. I couldn't see what was inside, but it sounded like a bunch of metal cookie cutters or something, clanking around, stretching the bag in weird shapes. He kept staring at me, those blue eyes locked on mine, and said, "Are you sure you don't know where Melanie is?" He inched closer, still shaking the bag, until we were almost touching. My breath was shaky, and I was staring at the ground, feeling like a scared kid who just gotten caught doing something wrong. Then something in me snapped. I shoved him away as hard as I could. His skin felt flabby and greasy under his shirt, and I didn't look back. I did a 180, bolted inside, and slammed the door shut. He started pounding on it, his heavy arms slamming against the wood, the bag's contents clanging with every hit. It went on for maybe 30 seconds before it stopped, just dead silence. I ran to the window, peeking out to see if he was still there. As I moved to get a better angle, I saw him staring right back at me. Our eyes locked, and he took off running to that same dirty white van from Riverside, parked across the street. He jumped in and sped off. I grabbed my phone and wrote down the license plate numbers from the back of the van. I still have them saved. I told Melanie about the guy asking for her, and she had no idea who he could be. She said she'd tell her parents to keep an eye out, just in case. I tried to find out more about him, but nothing came up. About a year later, my mom and I were out having lunch, and she was scrolling through Facebook when she found a post from a woman in the next neighborhood over. She said a man in a white van had knocked on her door, and when her young daughter answered, he tried to get her to come to his van, saying he had the circus in there. The mom got to the door in time, but the guy was super creepy. She didn't describe him, but it had to be the same van. Then just yesterday, I saw a local news report about a 9-year-old girl in central Illinois who was approached by a man in a white van. I'm almost certain it's the same guy, the bag man, as I started calling him. He's probably still out there, preying on people, popping up in social media posts and news stories. If you're in central Illinois, keep an eye out for anyone matching this guy's description or that creepy white van. Stay safe. I was just a short, light brown-skinned girl with long, curly hair and a figure that was starting to look more womanly than I felt ready for. Barely 13, I just moved to a new area in my state, and let me tell you, I wasn't thrilled about it. The move meant I lost half my school credits, which sucked, but I'd been struggling at my old school anyway. My parents heard amazing things about this new place, Green Valley Junior High, so off we went. The school was on a totally different schedule from what I was used to, same classes every day, depending on the semester, and it was massive. Huge floors, sprawling hallways, and at least 1,000 kids buzzing around. My first day was a breeze, as it usually is for new kids. Everyone was trying to scoop me up into their clique. You know how it goes. Fast forward to the next weekend, and I'd already clicked with 4 girls: Channing, Jessica, Brooke, and Madison. Out of the bunch, Madison was the one who stood out, and looking back, she was definitely the ringleader. She was thin, blonde, pretty, but bossy as all get out. I thought she was the coolest thing ever and wanted to be like her for some reason. Channing, though, was the one I got closest to. She was brunette, pretty in her own way, a little chubby, but super sweet. I only had one class with Jessica and Brooke, so I didn't see them much during school hours. But Channing and Madison, they were in my biology class at the end of the day, and because of them, it quickly became my favorite. Our bio teacher, Mr. Parks, was a big reason why I loved that class. He was always super friendly to the 3 of us, making sure we were grouped together for a project so we were never split up. He'd say stuff like how happy he was that I'd found such great friends as the new kid. Madison, though, would sometimes catch him looking at us and make these bold, flirty jokes about kissing in front of him. I didn't think much of it at the time. She was always saying wild stuff like that. She had this cool bad girl vibe, so it wasn't shocking, and I'd just laugh it off. Still, it was kind of weird how she'd look at him with this sparkly, flirty glint in her eye. She was clearly crushing on him. He was kind of cute, I guess, but way too old for us. One time, I could have sworn I saw him wink and grin at her, but when she asked him about it later, he said he had something stuck in his eye. One night, we all got dropped off at Jessica's house for a slumber party. She was throwing it to celebrate making A's and B's all year, and I was pumped. It was my first sleepover of the year. The night started out pretty normal. Dinner with Jessica's mom, doing makeup, blasting music, watching a movie. But after Jessica's mom went to bed, things took a turn. Madison had snuck a half-empty bottle of vodka from her dad's liquor cabinet, stashed it in her bag, and pulled it out like it was no big deal. She invited us all to take a swig. I didn't want to, but I also didn't want to look lame in front of her, so I took a sip. Nobody wanted to be the odd one out, so we all drank. The party kept going, and we were having a blast, but later I started feeling tipsy, and Madison, she was a mess, puking her guts out. Jessica freaked out because she didn't want her mom to hear Madison stumbling to the bathroom every 5 minutes. We'd all get busted. So she suggested we call Madison's brother to pick her up. Madison and her brother were super tight, so it seemed like a solid plan. We also decided to ditch the vodka bottle so no one would find it. The plan was Brooke and Jessica would sneak Madison outside to meet her brother after Channing called him, and I'd slip out back to hide the bottle where no one would ever find it. Sounded good, right? We waited for Madison to stumble back from the bathroom, but it was taking forever, so Jessica went to check on her. Girl was toast. While Jessica was gone, Channing started scrolling through Madison's phone to find her brother's number. Then Madison got a text from someone that said, "I can't stop thinking about you." Channing whispered to me and Brooke that Madison must have a secret boyfriend she wasn't telling us about. Naturally, we started snooping. Things got weird fast. The guy texting her was apparently in our bio class with me, Channing, and Madison, but he never talked to us. He really was a secret. We scrolled through more messages, super romantic stuff like, "You complete me, I do anything for you, and you're the most beautiful girl in the world." Really sweet, mushy stuff. There was even a picture of Madison with makeup on that she'd sent him. Then I saw something that made my stomach drop. There was a text that read, "You should totally kiss your new friend. That would be so hot. I might even raise your grade to 100%. Maybe you can try to touch one of her huge boobs too, and send me a picture. No one's as beautiful as you, babe, but girl on girl turns me on like crazy. You know that." I tried so hard not to scream. When Jessica came back, dragging a half-conscious Madison to lay her on the carpet, we showed her the phone. She snatched it and marched straight to her mom, who called Madison's mom. We all got in trouble for the drinking after Madison's mom picked her up, but that was the least of it. Mr. Parks was reported immediately. I never saw Madison at school again. She got transferred somewhere else. Turns out, Mr. Parks was labeled a sex offender and locked up for 15 years. They found inappropriate pictures of Madison and two other girls, around 13 or 14, on his phone and private laptop. Madison also admitted they'd done stuff, but it never went all the way. I still think about her sometimes and wonder how she's doing after everything. I was on a holiday with my boyfriend and his stepsister Julia, soaking up the all-inclusive vibes, where the drinks flow and everything's paid for. One night, after a few cocktails, we decided to leave the hotel and wander across to the beach area opposite it. It was lively with food stalls, music, and a great atmosphere. We spotted a big group of teenagers chatting and laughing, and since they seemed friendly, we figured we'd join them. Most of them were Italian, and they got a kick out of our English accents, pulling us right into their conversations. We mostly talked to three guys who spoke decent English, which made it easier to connect. I'm a bit shy now, but back then at 17, I was super shy, so I wasn't exactly leading the conversation. I just hung back, feeling a little anxious, not because anything felt off, just because social stuff like that made me nervous. Julia and my boyfriend were way more into it, chatting and laughing with the group. After a while, one of the guys, who looked about 21 or 22, said they were all headed to a party. The group got hyped, cheering about it, and soon a car rolled up to pick some of them up. People either piled into the car, shouting and whooping as it drove off, or started walking in the same direction. We were left with this one guy, the 21 or 22-year-old, tall and heavy-built, who said he'd lead us to the party since we'd been invited to tag along. I wasn't exactly thrilled about going, to be honest, but Julia and my boyfriend were all in, and I figured, well, it's a party with a bunch of teens, what's the worst that could happen? So we followed this guy as he started leading us down the streets. He kept talking about how he'd lived here for 2 years and loved it, which made me assume he knew where he was going. But after about 10 or 15 minutes of walking, I noticed we weren't heading the same way as the car or the other people. I brushed it off, thinking maybe he was taking a shortcut or something. Then he started looking confused, glancing around like he wasn't sure which way to go next. That struck me as odd for someone who claimed to know the place so well, but I didn't say anything. After another 10 minutes of him looking more and more lost, he finally said, "Down this street," and led us to an apartment building. It was about 3 stories high, with a rusty old gate that we passed through to get to an elevator. He said the party was at his place on the 2nd floor and pressed the button for it. The elevator doors closed, and it started creaking upward, slow as molasses. That's when my guts started screaming that something was wrong. The whole vibe had felt off since he started acting lost, but now it was hitting me hard. The elevator was rickety, groaning as it moved, and that minute inside felt like an eternity. I could tell Julia and my boyfriend were starting to pick up on it too, especially after I'd been quietly grumbling about the weirdness while we were walking. When the elevator finally stopped, the doors opened to a locked wooden door across from us. The guy pulled out a key, opened it, and we stepped into a hallway with about 5 doors, 2 on each side and 1 at the end. That's when it hit me like a ton of bricks. We needed to get the hell out of there. There was no party noise, no music, no chatter, no laughter. Just dead silence. It was eerie, like the air itself was holding its breath. I started tugging on my boyfriend's arm, trying to signal how freaked out I was. He took my hand, gave it a reassuring squeeze, and shot me a look that said, "Don't worry, I got this." I tried to calm down, but my heart was racing. The guy who'd been chatty the whole walk was now barely saying a word, mumbling stuff in a mix of English and Italian. He led us to the door at the end of the hallway, which opened onto a big balcony that was trying way too hard to look like a garden. The floor was covered in astroturf, with lawn chairs scattered around and a table loaded with speakers, alcohol, and cigarettes. Honestly, it was a total dump. But we were too busy processing the fact that there was no party. It was just us, this creepy guy, and this weird-ass balcony. My boyfriend, getting serious now, asked him straight up where everyone else was. The guy mumbled something about them showing up soon and said he was going to grab some friends from another room to introduce us. When he said that, he gave us this smile that made my skin crawl. I can't explain it, but that smile screamed bad news, like whatever was about to happen was not going to be fun for us. He left the balcony door open and walked to a door on the left side of the hallway. He knocked, said something in what I assumed was Italian, and I heard several male voices reply in the same language. That was it for me. I turned to Julia and my boyfriend and whispered, "We need to get the hell out of here." My boyfriend nodded and said, "I know, don't worry, we will." He started talking fast, laying out a plan. We just bolt for the door and take the stairs next to the elevator. As we were whispering, we saw the guy step into the room and shut the door behind him. That was our shot. My boyfriend said, "Go," and we didn't hesitate. The three of us sprinted down the hallway to the front door. It had a bunch of locks, and I could feel myself sweating buckets, my hands shaking as my boyfriend fumbled with them. I kept hearing the men's voices in the other room getting louder, like they were coming closer. Finally, he got the last lock open, and we flung the door wide, flying down the staircase like our lives depended on it. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it had burst. The adrenaline had burned through any buzz from the drinks earlier. We didn't stop running when we hit the street. We kept going all the way back to the hotel, not slowing down until we were safely outside it. I don't know what that guy's deal was. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe he was waiting for people to show up, or maybe he was luring us to that apartment for something way worse with his buddies. All I know is that smile he gave us told me everything I needed to know. He was bad news. I'm just glad we trusted our guts and got out of there. Back in the summer of 2015, my husband, our two young kids, and I moved into this old fixer-upper house in a tiny, sleepy village in the Irish countryside. You know, the kind of place everyone knows everyone, and your business is everybody's business. I was in college full-time, so my husband stayed home with the kids while we slowly worked on doing up the house. Our neighbor, Johnny, was this loner guy who lived next door. He had no friends, and the only family he mentioned was a brother named Thomas. He was a bit of a mess, unkempt, with bulging eyes and this vibe like he was always 1 second away from losing it. His house was a study in contrasts. Outside, his lawn was pristine, like something out of a fancy gardening magazine, with expensive statues and the greenest, softest grass you've ever seen. Nobody was allowed to touch it, or he'd come out yelling to get off his property. But inside, his place was a dump, filthy floor tiles, yellowed ceilings from chain smoking, and windows that never opened. The day we moved in, Johnny marched right into our front garden and introduced himself in this gruff way. "I'm Johnny. I live next door. Been here 66 years, 8 months, and 21 days. Who are you?" My husband and I thought he was a bit of a weirdo right off the bat, but we played nice, explaining we just bought the house to make it our family home. Then he dropped a bombshell, saying nobody should have bought it because it was his late sister's house, and she died years ago when she was young. We were caught off guard, but said we were sorry to hear that and left it at that. Then, as he turned to leave, he stopped at the gate and in this rage-filled voice barked, "I cut the grass every second day at 10 a.m. I take care of this lawn and mine. Don't ever touch the grass." We thought he was joking and laughed it off, figuring now that we owned the place, he'd let us handle our own lawn. No, he was dead serious. Every other morning, like clockwork, we'd hear his lawnmower fire up at 10 a.m., and there he was, cutting our grass while muttering angrily and glaring around with those wild eyes. My husband would go out and say, "Hey, it's okay, I'll do it." But Johnny acted like he wasn't even there, just kept mowing. He was also a hunter, which freaked me out because guns are rare in Ireland, especially in the hands of someone so unhinged. He'd take his 2 dogs and his hunting shotgun out, and I'd get this pit in my stomach every time I saw him with it. Things got weirder when we started clearing out the attic. We piled up a bunch of old stuff in the garden to throw out, and Johnny stormed over, yelling about what we were doing. He barged into our hallway and shouted that we should never go near the attic because his dead sister's clothes, her old-fashioned bicycle, and all her belongings were up there. My husband had had enough by then and told him to back off. It was our house and we'd do what we wanted. Johnny lost it, screaming that her stuff wasn't ours and we had no right to touch it. We ignored him, put the stuff outside, and told him he could take it to his own house if he wanted it. He stormed off, laughing this creepy, maniacal laugh that gave me chills. My husband brushed it off, saying he was just a nutcase and not to worry, but I wasn't so sure. The next day, a rubbish removal company was supposed to pick up the pile, and it sat there untouched all day. But when we woke up the following morning, everything was gone. No prizes for guessing who took it. For 3 whole weeks after that, we didn't hear Johnny's lawnmower or see him at all. It was like he'd vanished. Then one day, while my husband was out of town and I was alone with the kids, they wanted to play soccer outside. We went out, only to find all their soccer balls with kitchen knives stabbed into them. I was freaking out, convinced Johnny was behind it. I called my husband, who told me to call the police, but I didn't think they could do much without proof. That night, I barely slept, lying awake, terrified Johnny was lurking. Early the next morning, around 5 a.m., I went downstairs and saw him standing in his backyard in the pouring rain, yelling, "Don't touch your clothes, Tommy. I'll kill you, Thomas. Don't look at me like that with your sinful state." It was so unnerving, like I was witnessing something I shouldn't. I tried to tune it out and went to the living room. Later that day, my best friend came over to visit, and we were in the backyard when Johnny's lawnmower started up. He saw us, froze, and said to me, "You didn't tell me you had a sister." I explained she wasn't my sister, just my friend, but he yelled, "You can't fool me. Wait till I tell Thomas what he tried to do. He won't be happy." Then, in this creepy, calm voice, he said, "It's clear you're sisters. You have the same flesh," and walked away, muttering angrily. My friend and I were spooked. We decided to walk to a nearby store to grab some milk, and a neighbor from across the street stopped us. She warned us that Johnny was a shady character and dropped a bombshell. Our house really was his little sister's, but she hadn't just died. She'd been brutally murdered years ago, and no one was ever caught. Everyone in the village suspected Johnny, but he was questioned and released without charges. When I mentioned his brother Thomas, she looked confused and said Johnny had no living family and never had a brother. That sent shivers down my spine. I called my husband right away, and we agreed Johnny was dangerous, maybe even mentally unstable, possibly with something like schizophrenia. With young kids around, that made us even more uneasy. The next couple of weeks were tense. Johnny kept yelling at Thomas, smashing plates on the floor every night, screaming, "Eat your dinner, Thomas. I cooked it all day. How dare you refuse?" My husband said to ignore him, hoping he'd eventually stop. He even bought a lawnmower to take care of our grass ourselves. One morning, as he was setting up, he caught Johnny staring at him from an upstairs window, muttering angrily, though he couldn't make out the words. That night, things went completely off the rails. The kids were at a sleepover, so we were painting and doing some light renovation work. Suddenly, there was a series of loud, angry knocks on the door. It was Johnny clutching his shotgun so tight his knuckles were white, reeking of booze and cigarette smoke, spit flying as he yelled, "I told you, I warned you not to touch the grass." He kicked our front door down and stood in our hallway, raging. I genuinely thought we were done for. My husband tried to calm him down, but it was no use. He just got angrier until he suddenly stopped, stared straight ahead like he was looking through us, and said, "I need you to bring me home. I don't feel right." I protested, but my husband said to call the police, so I did, staying on the line as he agreed to walk Johnny just to his front door, not a step further. As Johnny opened his door, my husband glimpsed the hallway, walls covered in yellowing newspaper clippings about his sister's death, hundreds of them, along with crude drawings he couldn't quite make out but got the gist of. My husband bolted, jumping the wall between our yards, accidentally stepping on the grass. Johnny came out, aiming his shotgun right at him, but just then, 2 police cars rolled up. Their timing was perfect. Johnny had to be tossed twice before they could overpower him, all while he screamed, "I didn't kill her. I didn't kill my sister." The court case is still pending, so I've changed his name for obvious reasons. He's being reinvestigated for his sister's murder now that there are DNA breakthroughs, and apparently he's still aggressive and manic in jail, ranting about how Thomas will die without him and who'll look after Thomas now. His house sits empty, the once perfect lawn now overgrown and wild, giving the place this eerie, abandoned vibe. Those newspaper clippings are still on his hallway walls. I'll update if I hear anything new. A while back, I went on a group camping trip with some friends in the middle of nowhere in Arizona. It was supposed to be a fun getaway, just us, the desert, and some good times. But one night, I woke up to this weird sniffing sound right outside my tent. My first thought was, great, it's probably a bear or some animal sniffing around. I figured one of my dumbass friends forgot to tie up the garbage or left food out. You know, the usual camping mistakes. Seconds later, I heard the same sniffing move to the tent next to ours. Everyone in my tent was awake by then, grabbing each other quietly, like, "Yo, you hear that?" We were all on edge, trying to stay silent and figure out what was going on. Moments later, a friend in another tent popped out, yelling and making a ton of noise, waving a gun around to scare off whatever was out there. We thought it was an animal, right? No. Turns out, it was some random guy who'd been rummaging through our coolers and food, and for whatever creepy reason, decided it was cool to sniff around our tents. My friend's shouting spooked him, and he took off running. We didn't stick around to play detective. We packed up our stuff in record time and got the hell out of there, shaken up and not about to wait for that guy to come back. A year later, my same group of dumbass friends and I decided to go back to a nearby area, convincing ourselves that what happened was just a one-time fluke. This time, we thought we'd outsmart any potential creepers. Instead of tents, we slept in the beds of our trucks and SUVs, figuring nobody could sniff around a locked Toyota Tacoma, right? So, middle of the night, I'm passed out in the back of my SUV with my girlfriend next to me when I suddenly feel this bright light shining on my face. My first instinct was to wake up and yell, "Who's doing that?" But something told me to play dead, to pretend I was still asleep so whoever it was wouldn't know I was awake. I lay there, heart pounding, hoping my girlfriend would do the same. I strained my ears for any weird noises, like more sniffing, but all I could hear was one of my friends snoring by the campfire. After the light moved away from my car, I heard footsteps crunching toward the next truck. The guy was shining his light in there, too, checking out my friends while they slept. I waited until he moved on, then slowly peeked up. It was some older dude, just standing there, staring at everyone like a total creep. I held my breath, waiting for him to leave the campsite. As soon as he did, I bolted out of the truck, woke up my friends, most of whom had also been pretending to sleep and knew something was up, and we got out of there. I don't know what's going on in that part of Arizona, but man, it's some straight up hills have eyes kind of creepy. 2 separate trips, 2 different weirdos pulling this kind of stuff. That's not normal. I'm not sure if it's just bad luck or if that area attracts the strangest people, but I'm not itching to go back anytime soon. Last week, I was backing into a parking spot in this unfamiliar townhouse neighborhood where my girlfriend was dog sitting. I was just visiting, not super familiar with the area, and of course, I misjudged the turn and caught my car's quarter panel on this old, early 2000s SUV. It got stuck, and I had to scrape it even worse to wiggle free. Total, oh crap moment. Being a decent person, I called my insurance, filed a claim, and left a note on the guy's windshield explaining the bumper scuff with my phone number. It was just a minor scrape, knocked some chrome off the corner of his bumper, no dent or anything serious. The guy waits until late the next day to text me, giving his name and asking for my name and address. I never leave my name on public notes, just my phone number, so I thought it was a bit weird he was asking for my address. I replied with my name, policy number, insurance company, and claim number so he could get his car fixed. That should have been enough, right? But then he texts back asking if I live in the neighborhood. I told him no, I was just visiting. No response after that, which was fine by me. This area has a lot of federal intelligence and R&D folks, contractors, analysts, you name it. So people tend to keep things private. You ask what someone does, and they just say analyst as code for mind your business. Then he calls me. I pick up and we chat. He starts pressuring me to handle it out of pocket, saying stuff like, if you keep making claims, they'll jack up your rates or even drop you. Thanks for the unsolicited advice, buddy, but my last claim was comprehensive, like years ago. I'm pretty sure I'm fine. I was glad I'd already sent pictures to my insurance and had our text exchange in writing, just in case. Then he drops this bomb. Yeah, so I looked you up online and got your address and like your last 3 addresses, so I should have what I need. I'm sorry, what? That creeped me out big time. Like, dude, I scuffed your bumper. I didn't break into your house. You don't need to know where I live. You have my insurance info. Use it and leave me alone. Friday rolls around, and I'm already in a rough mood because someone I know was killed Thursday afternoon. I went to their vigil that Friday, trying to process everything. During the vigil, this guy calls again, leaving some garbled voicemail and a text saying he just tried to reach me. Thank God I'd silenced my phone because the last thing I needed was it ringing during something like that. A few hours later, he texts again asking, by the way, who were you visiting? Okay, now I'm convinced this guy's following me. It's way too specific, way too creepy. I blocked his number. He can call my insurance or go kick rocks for all I care. This is beyond ridiculous for a minor scuff on a 15-year-old car, especially when I'm owning up to it. I don't know what his deal is, but stalking me over a bumper scrape, not cool.